You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show. We all go through stuff and to different extents and also different parts of our lives. Some people, like for example, for me, and sounds like for you, a lot of my formative years were very traumatic, which is now probably why I'm very resilient. And I feel the same. I'm like, I can literally handle anything. And something happens, I'm like, okay, breathe that out. Let's go. What's next? Or how am I fixing this? You know, it's a bit like water for ducks back.
Yeah,
100%.
Right?
But everybody has something that has defined them. And I'm a massive believer in the more you have it, the thicker that skin gets and the stronger the resilience gets.
So I'm like a little bit weird, but much better now. So I've always been great at handling big problems, but it was the little things that got me. It was like death by 1,000 cuts. So all those little things used to start to gnaw away at me and then I crash. Now that doesn't happen. And I do have a level of resilience that I don't think everybody has. But then I meet some people and I'm like, wow, your level of resilience is next level. And I've also learned that it's okay to not be resilient about some stuff, that actually just let it hurt, like let it wash over you. You don't have to be like Teflon. It doesn't have to you can just suffer it and that's okay. As long as you're like, if you're content and you're fulfilled, whether you're happy or sad doesn't really matter because things don't hurt the same way.
Yeah. I think it's right because, again, coming back down to mental illnesses that I've had, a lot of people feel like you just need to get through it, but actually you're okay to feel it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but when I first had my second bout of depression, it was like, oh my God, I'm back here again.
Yeah, it's worse,
I failed, so much worse. I failed. It's happened again. I should have known better this time. First time I didn't really know what was going on. This time, and it was like even worse. And now I see depression a bit like a hunger. So ironically, we're talking about staying hungry, but it's like I know for a fact that if I don't eat, I'm going to get hungry. In the same way, my depression is going to come if I don't look after myself.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just a feeling that it comes, and I'm like, okay, here I need to cry it out, or it's okay to let it out, you know, or not. But it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling.
Yeah. So I guess like something's used as an analogy is bottling stuff up. Yeah. But like when you've got a lot of shit going on, if you're kind of just putting it to the back of your mind, that's when it comes back and bites you. But if you let it wash over you and just feel it, very often you can process it a lot quicker, just a good night's sleep. And you'll start to notice, even if you're not suffering severe depression or anxiety, but maybe you're just stressed as an entrepreneur or an individual, you'll start to notice that your sleeping hours start to shorten, that you wake up with a dry mouth, that you're not either enjoying your food anymore or you're eating way more than you normally do, and exercise isn't exciting for you anymore, and talking to people's become that little bit tougher. And that's when you need to decide to start letting these things wash over you or it'll get bad.
That's a great concept, actually. Question for you. Did you find your family history of mental illness made it easy for you to spot it in yourself, or were you still just oblivious like anybody else would be?
I knew what was going on. I've known that I had depressive traits from 5 or 6 years old. That doesn't make it any easier because actually knowing what it is quite scary because I've seen what happens to some people. And, you know, I lost my uncle before I was born, but lost a friend to it. I've actually lost 4 friends to suicide in my lifetime. So when you know that's what you've got and you know what the end of it looks like, it's a bit.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I've got in my family we have a lot of mental illness actually, and it was the same thing. It was like I had no idea it was in me. I was totally oblivious. I was in denial, like beyond.
Yeah.
But when it happened and I realized what it was, that denial lifted, I panicked because I then had serious anxiety. What if I turn out like that person? What if I turn out like this person? Yeah. Because you've seen it happen, and sometimes ignorance is bliss. You know, in some ways. What would you say to anyone that is maybe struggling at the moment but doesn't know how to approach the subject with someone?
I feel underqualified. I think
this is not and any doctor's advice.
I think the best thing you can do is reach out to someone, but I completely appreciate reaching out to someone you know is really tough. But there's online services now, you know, like Campaign Against Living Miserably, Calm, and there's others where you could reach out anonymously and speak to someone and they can just help you a little bit. And obviously, if you're in an extreme place, there's Samaritans and things like that. But I would advise just doing that. There are literally people on Messenger now that you can speak to just to kind of get an overview. And the reason I say that is when you're depressed or anxious or stressed, you're not thinking logically, but you think you are. And it's quite good to just get someone else to check on that, because, you know, I like sometimes I would be like, oh, I might not be able to pay next month's VAT bill. And within 2 weeks of depression, I'm going to get sent to prison for not paying a VAT bill. Well, that's not going to happen. And I could pay the VAT bill. I had savings to pay it. So why was I there? And it's not logical, but it felt logical.
Yeah. Who was the person that you reached out to or has been the go-to to help you through that?
Oh, my mum's always been great. She's always known what's going on. And then sort of on my second bout, which was pretty significant, and my wife was involved, she just said, go to the doctors. And I know it'll be all right. And I probably left it 9 months too long. And now I regret that, because I probably lost 9 months of my life in a weird way. But I've probably made the mistake of not reaching out to people. And then now, because I'm well, I hold myself accountable by telling people that I've had those struggles. So now it's like, if it goes wrong again, everyone around me knows. And have lost some friends, sadly, because of that, because maybe they don't understand, or maybe they're just not as nice as I thought they were. But the friends that I've got are really good friends. And so now I don't think if there was a third serious bout, it would be as bad, because I could literally go round to a friend's for a cup of tea and say, this is where I'm at. And they'd be like, all right, let's have another cup of tea.
Yeah. I think that's part of the challenge though, isn't it? Because when it's a bit like when you put something in a dark corner and you're fearful of what's in that corner, it's like, oh, I don't know, it's going to get bigger, it's going to be scary, because you can't see it. But when you shine a light on it, it makes it better, because you're actually, this isn't as scary anymore. And I was the same when I first started talking about my depression publicly. I was running my business for 3-4 years about telling soul that I had depression. Of course. And then and I had a lot of people, actually mentors, saying, Chloe, you can't tell people you were depressed. They won't buy from you. They'll think you're broken. They'll think that you're going to have a wobble. And then it was actually on Mental Health Awareness Day years ago. I had a really bad bout of depression. And I remember waking up and my eyes were so puffy. I didn't know what day of the week it was, because obviously when you're in those states, I didn't give a crap. And I opened Facebook and it was everyone posting all these quotes about world mental health and how, and I literally went, this is what mental health is. I don't actually remember doing it, but I went live
that video,
and I was like, this is what it's like. And I was not well in that video, but it went nuts. And it's because I finally shone a light on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we need to have these conversations.
Those mentors that said that to you can fuck off. Like, that is ridiculous. And they're wrong. Like, 1 in 2 people are suffering with some sort of mental health issue. So to say that people won't buy from you because you're honest about your depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or whatever it is you're going through, it's just not true. So, okay, well, they can't buy from anyone else then either.
Yeah, only half the population.
Yeah. So who've then got other shit going on, like they're criminals or gambling addicts. So, like, right, we won't buy from anyone then. Like, everyone's got something, and it's like getting out of your own way, realizing you're not the main character in everyone else's story, so they actually don't give a shit anyway, and then using yourself as an opportunity for other people to feel okay. And when you start doing that, more people buy from you, not less.
Yeah, that's exactly what actually happened. Totally. And I similar to you saying you wish you got help 9 months earlier, I wish I told my story from the beginning.
Yeah. And not because you wanted to make more sales.
Definitely.
That was just a byproduct of being a good person, right?
Yeah. And also I was attracting the right people. I was attracting people that actually saw the vulnerability and appreciated the vulnerability.
So, controversial thing to say, what really grinds my gears is when people try and use mental health to make more sales.
Oh my God. Again, marketers, we see it all the time.
Yeah.
I can see clearly now through a legitimate thing versus, and again, controversial to say, people who take photos of themselves crying. And
when someone adds sad music to a video that they've recorded of themselves, that's a red flag.
Of course it is. And I'm like, again, if people are genuinely sad, I'm not saying don't take photos of yourself crying and share the vulnerability of it. I get that. I do. But when I'm genuinely crying, I'm not thinking about, I must take a photo of this.
Yeah. If someone else had taken a photo of you
course.
and you posted it a week later in context.
Yeah. That's exactly what you said, though. It's the context. It's like what we said earlier, the vulnerability piece. And I just think people just need to be so much more themselves. And I think a lot of people have this word authenticity thrown around, you know, be authentic. And I actually always say that's part of the whole premise of the show. Hence why you've shared so vulnerably.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've never shared this before. You're being authentic, but you're not going, today I'm going to be authentic.
Yeah, look how authentic I am.
Oh my God, exactly. It's the angle.